Hello everybody and welcome to part 3 of scaling the Spectreman universe. If you haven't already, make sure to watch the previous video so you can be caught up for this one. Today, we'll be scaling Neo Hedon, Mudon, and finally Thundergay. Be mature, I know, funny name. Let's scale some kaiju. Starting with Neo Hedon. As you may be able to guess, this is a newer and stronger version of the original Hedon. This version of Hedon is much larger, and seems that he may have been the inspiration for Rose Biollante. Now let's scale him. Firstly, he has some strong telekinesis. He was able to easily break through a building, meaning he should be able to get the city pretty easily. Next is the fact that Spectreman's villains seem to grow in power each time. Now by no means am I saying that Neo Hedon is outscaling Dustman, but he should outscale the normal Hedon. And if you don't remember, the normal Hedon is an island level threat, meaning Neo Hedon should at least be state. And we see in the show that Neo Hedon takes many of Spectreman's attacks, which could get him to country. At the moment we don't quite know how strong Spectreman's attacks are, so for now we'll just keep him at state. Neo Hedon is also able to smack a JASDF F4 Phantom out of the sky, getting his reaction and movement speed upwards of Mach 2.3. Next are his in-show statements. You could get Neo Hedon to planetary, since Spectreman himself says, "I've lost," after fighting one of the smaller and weaker versions of Hedon, which are barely a fraction of the power of the normal Neo Hedon has. And the only other time we've seen Spectreman this defeated is when he was fighting Nezu Burdon. Stretch it out and say Neo Hedon is at least planetary at this point. And in the next episode, Spectreman says himself, "The new Hedon has defeated me," getting him to large planetary, since Spectreman himself scales to large planetary at the moment. He might be higher than my beloved Dustman. The Overlords say, and I quote, "We have a plan for the destruction of the new Hedon. It is dangerous, and may mean your ultimate destruction too." Now the Overlords did say something when Dustman was attacking, which was, "You may be too late to stop his extraordinary power from being used against the world." So while they thought Dustman would beat Spectreman, they didn't think he would kill him, unlike Neo Hedon, putting him above Dustman, who at our mid-ball is star level. So Neo Hedon jumps from planetary to now sitting comfortably in star level. But I refuse to say this wannabe Rose Biollante is star level. So I'm going to do a thing all power scalers refuse to do, which is look at the kaiju's weakness, which for Neo Hedon seems to be electricity, dying from being shocked by some lightning. Not so strong now, huh? If you were to ask me and my personal bias, I'd say he'd scale somewhere from moon to planet. But putting my hatred towards this kaiju aside, given that he almost killed Spectreman, and just his smaller form alone gave Spectreman a run for his money, and finally the fact that it took Spectreman and the Overlords themselves to defeat him, he would scale somewhere from star to large star. And just some random statement info stuff is the fact that Neo Hedon is 110 meters long. So overall, like we said, he'd be somewhere from star to large star. Next we have Mudon, that, which may just be the ugliest kaiju ever. But don't let his horrible looks deceive you. He may also just be the most destructive kaiju yet. His abilities include burrowing, adept swimmer, fire stream, second head, and tsunamis. And most importantly, and the only ability we'll really be focusing on, is the fact that he can make earthquakes. In the show, he causes a lot of destruction with his earthquakes. It shows Tokyo Tower falling to the ground, buildings ripping in half, and bridges crumbling like paper. And it's also stated that he can produce magnitude 20 earthquakes. For reference, the largest earthquake recorded on Earth was the giant Chilean earthquake, which only had a magnitude of 9.5. For this part, I'll let Natural Reader take over since it's too many numbers for me to read.
Now to put into scale how overpowered that is the equivalent of 1 sextillion 6 quintillion 311 quadrillion 554 trillion 194 billion 885 million 565,286 Hiroshima bombs, or 264 quadrillion 565 trillion 657 billion 173 million 607,582 Tsar bombas, or better yet 75 quadrillion 401 trillion 212 billion 294 million 478,161 Krakatoa's eruptions. To give you some perspective, the total energy contained in the Earth's gravitational binding energy, which is an approximation of the energy required to completely disintegrate the Earth, is estimated to be around 2.24 times 10 to the power of 32 joules, or about 5.4 times 10 to the power of 15 tons of TNT equivalent. Now a magnitude 20 earthquake is the equivalent of 15 septillion 80 sextillion 242 quintillion 458 quadrillion 895 trillion 632 billion 156 million 652,967 metric tons of TNT. Now in scientific notation, that is 1.5 times 10 to the power of 25.
Now you may not know what that number means, but just to let you know, that is far beyond the required amount to literally rip apart and disintegrate Earth. So this would put him comfortably into large planetary at the moment. And nowhere in the show does it say he has a limit to how many times he could do these earthquakes, meaning he could just spam them non-stop. Not only that, but the earthquakes seem to go on for a long, long time, almost spanning an entire episode. He also takes many of Spectreman's deadliest attacks and only just walks him off in slight pain. And later he's upgraded. And in this upgraded form, Spectreman's attacks that previously slightly hurt him now just bounce off. He also later then easily produces huge tsunamis. And finally, just like Nezubrodon, he rips up Spectreman's suit. Next are his in-show statements, which include, Dr. Gory says, Magnitudon is growing in power by the minute. So if he is already very much into large planetary, and he's growing stronger by the minute, you could argue that it'd get him to dwarf star. And finally, his general statements, which include, a single swipe can bring down a mountain, which I'm just saying is on par with Show a Guy again who's 4D. Just putting that out there. So with all this, where could he scale? At a low ball, he's large planetary. And at mid ball, he's star. Not too bad. And now just to add on, Spectreman of course ends up beating him, putting Spectreman from large planetary into large star categories of power, which will then upscale Neo Hedon, since he had more trouble fighting him than Magnitudon, meaning Neo Hedon can now be a large star level threat. And finally we have Thundergay. Thundergay is a giant flying whale, and when I say giant, I mean it. He comes in at a whopping 500 to 600 meters long, which is twice as long as Godzilla Earth is tall. Now let's jump into his scaling. Firstly, he is able to easily shoot extremely strong lightning, being able to destroy a lighthouse and a small fishing boat, which could get him somewhere from house to town level. He also has the unique ability to turn completely invisible. Also, Spectreman flew at Thundergay. He ricocheted off. As we've said many times, Spectreman flying alone is a mountain level feat, putting Thundergay far above mountain, most likely into island or state. Now his biggest feat / ability is his mimicry, where he is able to copy his opponent to a T, meaning he can match Neo Hedon and Dustman, and even people outside of the Spectreman universe, such as Space Godzilla or Iris. It's a pretty limitless ability. Now onto his show statements. It is said in episode 17 that all of humanity remains in peril, which makes us barely able to scale him to planetary, or at least the surface wiping kind of planetary. But thanks to his mimicry, if you drop him in any other universe, he becomes stupidly broken, being able to go somewhere from a wall level threat to beyond the scaling system and into boundless. Now his statements. He can get somewhere from Mach 1 to Mach 3 in flight speed. As we already said, he is somewhere between 500 to 600 meters long. So overall, Thundergay can go somewhere between wall to beyond the scaling system itself. But from what we see on screen, it's reasonable to assume he's planetary to large planetary. So overall, we have 2 large planetaries and 1 large star. A great group. As always, thank you for watching. See you guys tomorrow. Keep collecting. Godzilla Guy out. See ya.